Hey everyone, Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys an old school album review. And this is from a band that, well, I haven't really talked much about or hardly at all about this channel. I've mentioned it here and there. And this is from a band that's pretty nostalgic to me. And I know there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna be like, Richard, why'd you like this band? It sucks. Is this not better? And to any elitists out there that are gonna comment or talk shit. But yeah, that's besides the point. As you can see by the title of the video, and today's this album's 15th anniversary, we're gonna be talking about, yep, Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park. Yep, this pretty much their debut album, 15-year anniversary, and I'm gonna decide to why not review this album because yep, this album pretty much dropped October 24th in the year 2000. And I remember first hearing this album back when I was like in 6th, 7th grade or so. That's when I got this. And I was like, wow, I mean, damn. And I still listen to it sometimes. I'm like, damn, this album is still good. And I mean, this is pretty much what this and Meteora, they're pretty much Linkin Park in their prime. And I mean, I pretty much don't give a shit about their other stuff. Yes, I know I'm that guy. And I actually kind of liked the new album, The Hunting Party, which I thought was their best album they've done in years, honestly. I mean, I haven't reviewed that, but I'm just saying that. But that's besides the point. We're gonna talk to Hybrid Theory. This album like came out October 24th, 2000, produced by Don Gilmore, who also produced Meteora. One thing to note, the production on this is pretty great. It still holds up. I feel like this has aged well a lot. It's a lot, even after 15 years, it still holds up. And the one thing to note is the vocal work on this album from Chester Bennington and Mike Shinoda. I mean, Chester Bennington's vocals, especially on the first couple records, kind of has that kind of grit and angst to it. But and especially some of the screams he does on this album is pretty damn good. And Mike Shinoda, this dude is in my opinion, one of the coolest rappers I've heard. I mean, I wouldn't really consider him like the greatest, but he's pretty good at what he does. There's especially some of the songs that stand out are songs like A Place for My Head, In the End, Paper Cut, but we'll get into those songs in just a moment. Then we get to the guitar playing from Brad Delson. His guitar playing is pretty heavy. His guitar tones is just pretty aggressive. And sort of like the clean stuff that he plays on some of the tracks is pretty good. And the bass playing is pretty oddball, and a lot of people don't know is that Dave Farrell, who's also commonly known as Phoenix by a lot of their fans, didn't really play on this album. So Brad Delson played most of the bass on this album, and I think they had a few other bass players on some of the tracks. I'm not really sure which ones, but they're pretty good. The DJ Johan, this dude does like some of the scratching he does on some of the tracks is just pretty impressive. He's one of the most coolest DJs I've heard, along with Sid from Wilson from Slipknot, and yeah, that's pretty much the only DJs I know in a metal band. And the drumming from Rob Borden is pretty solid. It just keeps the beat pretty good. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into this album track by track. Sorry about the glare there. Now the album opens up with Paper Cut, which starts off with a little bit of a sample beat to it. It just kind of kicks in with distorted guitars, and it's a pretty good song. One of Linkin Park's well-known songs, and one of my favorite songs off this album. And they're one of their other best-known songs, like I said. Same thing with One Step Closer, which is the album's first single. Well, and it has a bit of a metalish edge to it, which I don't really consider Linkin Park metal. But they just have they're heavy, yes, but I don't really consider them a metal band yet. They're kind of new metal, but anyway, it just has a bit of an edge to it, and I really like the bridge to it, especially with Chester screaming "Shut up" when I'm talking to you. It's a pretty good song. Another one of my favorite songs off this album. Then we get to With You, which starts a little bit of a weird intro with the scratch thing stuff, which at first, when I first heard this album years ago, it kind of sounded a little bit weird to me, but after a while, I liked the song. And the lyrics to the song is kind of weird because I saw in an interview, if you read the lyrics, it kind of sounds like a love song almost. I saw an interview with Chester years ago when this album came out. It but this song has pretty much one of the heavier songs off this album, and I thought it's pretty interesting. Then we get to the next song, Points of Authority, which is another one of my favorites. It's just all these songs are pretty good, but anyway, Points of Authority. It's a very energetic song. It pretty much gets me pumped. Like the song a lot. Then we get to Crawling, and this is kind of where the album kind of slows down a little bit. It has a bit of a dark and daunting feel to it, and I thought it's pretty interesting. Then we get to Runaway, which has some very good verses, especially the melodic verses from Chester is pretty good. Especially love kind of has a bit of a heavier bridge to it, and I like that a lot. Then we get to By Myself. Like Points of Authority, it's another energetic song. It's very, and it has a bit of, as very aggressive. It sort of gets me pumped. I like that song a lot. Then we get to In the End. And then this song is pretty much the very first Linkin Park song I ever heard when I was like 10, I think. It's one and also one of my favorite songs off this album. It's just very catchy, very uplifting, and just Mike's rapping on the verses is pretty good. But yeah, then we get to A Place for My Head, and which is a pretty interesting song. It has a very interesting guitar intro. And this song pretty much showcases Mike Shinoda's rapping, and it's just pretty much like insane what he can do. It's pretty cool. Then we get to Forgotten, which has some very good rapping in there, and it's just a very great chorus. I like that a lot. Then we get to the little bit of the interlude, the intermission part of the album, which is Cure for the Itch, which is just a DJ solo from Joe Hahn, which is pretty interesting. Then the album closes with Pushing Me Away, and this is a pretty good way to end this album. It's a very solid song. It's just some great melody to there. And I think that's a great way to end this album. Now, overall, Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park is a pretty good album. It still holds up still after 15 years. So yeah, if I were to give this album a score, I'd probably give this a 9.5 out of 10. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'm still thinking also considering reviewing Meteora. Just comment below if you think I should review it. I'm sort of debating on it still, but yeah. Thank you guys for watching. See you all next video. Keep it metal.